what's the vision, and maybe if you can start off that discussion and kind of give us a heads up on what we're looking for.
Great, great. All right, so we're going to be doing 30 minutes of technical talks, and then followed up by 30 minutes of inspiration. It just depends on the week on whether we have an invited speaker for inspiration or technical. And this week we had an invited technical talk, so we will start with a discussion on inspirational talks. The inspirational talks can be, if you're interested in giving an inspirational talk, please contact me. It's meant to be inspirational for people's life based on the journey where they're at. With that said, there will be some things that have a faith basis associated with it that may be different than what you share, but all presenters are being asked to present in a way that they're respectful towards journeys of multiple people on there. So we don't want it to be something where people feel super uncomfortable in their inspirational standpoint, but there probably may be some things at times on the inspirational standpoint that may be different from what your background is. And if that's the case, feel, it's no big deal to either stay on and listen or to jump off the line and have discussions. But we want to be something where we meet people on their journeys and give them a chance to have an out related to something that gives them inspiration to see something a little bit more positive in the week than something negative, that sometimes we get focused on the negative aspects of our week that's coming up. So this week, to kind of make it simple, we're just going to talk a little bit about kind of what our excitement is related to RiverSHARED, and kind of where we hope RiverSHARED could be going in the future, and how you guys could be a part of it if you want to be a part of it, and then also open it up as a discussion, since this would be a discussion topic and we don't originally have we're going to stop Lee's screen sharing so we don't have to see what yeah. Lee's doing. There you go. So in this discussion, a couple questions that we're going to ask, and I'll introduce you to the questions, and then we will go through them individually to kind of bring out as a discussion today. And so a couple questions that we're going to come up with is, do you feel that there's a need for a RiverSHARED entity in the industry? What are aspects of an entity that you would like to see in the future? And then a couple of things that I looked at that I think there is a need for. So I'm kind of pushing this just because it's our first day for discussion, so it's not going to be quite as freely moving as in the future, where it can kind of come from other folks after having some sort of catalyst for a discussion. So, is there a need? What are the needs? And then one of the needs that I see is related to future training. So today we're going to talk a little bit about what are some future training opportunities in the industry that just aren't being covered right now in the industry. So it's not saying, okay, well, there's people that are already teaching a course on natural channel design. We're not really trying to look at those types of courses as much as how do we teach, concepts of a course that may be taught in 6 weeks to people that are, high school students, and is there value in that, or how do we teach real estate agents how to do that? So what are some additional training courses in the industry that seem to be important, or you see are going to be a need in the future? So before we head into that, I'm going to just give a word of Thanksgiving, and then we'll move into that. Dear God, we're so thankful for the opportunity to join together today. Please help us to be able to find inspiration through each other and through the opportunities we see here in front of us. We're thankful that we're allowed to be a part of a community. We're thankful that we're allowed to find ways to share with others. Amen. All right. So So what is it? So what do you think is needed in this industry right now, or what is it that you would like to see added to the industry through a nonprofit like RiverShared? Um,
Hey Dave, Josh Allen here. I love the idea of plugging into schools. You know, as a someone who has a wife and a mother and a mother-in-law who are all educators. You know, I've actually gone and done small like open forum kind of discussions on the environment, why it's important, why we should be good stewards over that type of thing. But they're always those kids are always really receptive to that kind of thing, and to I just think that's just a great way of kind of getting, it's very early recruiting for one, but then it's also just it's a great way to plug in the community and give back, and that's how really ideas and things really gain momentum, is through our future generations.
yeah, Josh, I think the idea of early recruiting is I think of uh, when I grew up, the idea of how we disposed of trash was we would go to the dump, and the dump was on the family farm, and it was
Right.
a creek bank. And you would go
Right.
out to the creek bank and you'd throw the trash in the creek bank.
Yeah.
And then eventually somebody in the Chesapeake Bay watershed, Schuler and some other folks, started pushing for youth education. And I was in the Chesapeake Bay watershed, and they said, "Hey, don't litter. It goes down to the Chesapeake Bay." And we said, "Hey, that's bad." But even when it comes to in general, you don't have many kids that say, "I want to be a fluvial geomorphologist," but you have a lot of kids that say, "I want to be a physicist." Or I want to be maybe not a lot of kids that say you want to be a physicist, but it's just something where in our industry we're not really promoting the concepts of what can be done to kids very well.
Right.
So what do you think? Do you think having a basic curriculum that people could kind of use as a starting point for training youth, you think something like that would be beneficial
Yeah, I
to
mean,
create through RiverShared?
yeah, I think that could be really useful. Is Yeah, because in the past, I've just had to create my own slides or presentations or what have you, but being able to pull from a larger um group of people, there's a lot of really smart people that are involved with RiverShare to get some really great, like, obviously one of the best things that you can do for stream restoration or just ecological restoration in general is before and after pictures. And so, like, maybe if we could even have like a database of like some really great before and after pictures, and not only for like kids, but for, like we were talking earlier about, politicians, municipalities, these people that are interested in, or have heard about nature-based solutions, but are maybe a little hesitant about, doing it themselves. Like, those pictures go a long way to selling, that process and that application. I apologize. Somebody's ringing my doorbell. I'll be right back.
That's all right. Tina, are you available to talk right now?
Let's see.
I think Tina's trying to get on the line. Interrupt me if you can figure it out. But there you go. Can you hear me now? Can you hear us now?
Yeah, I can hear you. It's just can you hear me?
We can hear you. We can
Okay.
hear you, yeah.
I was just, you were talking about educational issues, but summer camps, where we are here, and I live in southern Louisiana, there's and probably wherever you guys are, but there's summer camps, and we live near the spillway. My kid has done like swamp camp and stuff like that, but putting together some sort of educational camps, I think, would be a good way to introduce kids to some of these ideas.
Yeah, and Tina, are you the swamp camp that your kids does, is that like a day camp, or is it like a 3 or 4 day overnight camp, or how intense is it?
It's usually it's been a while, but I think it's a week to 2 week camp. And what they would do is the kids would get like little field notebooks that they'd make themselves. They'd go and talk about different things, show the kids how to crab, how to fish, how to paddle a kayak. And then also they would do like a section on identifying plants and different insects and trying to show how they all relate together. And that, they're not things that need to be squished, that they all have their purposes.
Yeah. That would be a fun thing to try to get together as an industry. I wonder if we could work in training to schools, create a curriculum that's maybe a half hour, an hour long curriculum for X number of days in the schools, and then kind of lead it into the idea of, hey, come to creek camp or come to swamp camp or whatever it ends up being, and then work alongside the schools and create a curriculum that local people could be teaching, but then give them some sort of regional resources to be able to teach that. That's a great idea. Tina, do you have I don't know if I have your email address, so if you can put it in the text stuff, then we'll make sure
I
you're on the
will.
list.
I will. Chuck, I work with Chuck Berger, and
Oh, good.
and so he's the one who invited all of us, our group. So I'll put it.
Great.
In the. You want me to put it just in the chat there? I can put it.
Yeah,
in the
put
chat.
it.
I'll put it.
Yeah, well, as long as we have it from Chuck, we know we'll get it from you. Get your
Okay.
email address. So that's
Okay.
So to kind of add on to that, some of those camps involve bringing children from the urban community that don't have a chance to get out into nature and introducing them to nature. So I have a friend who did some stuff like that. He was a paddleboarder and had a paddleboarding business and would do outings like that.
Yeah, I think that's a great idea. So is it the kids from the urban setting, do you end up taking them, I guess, overnight for a couple nights while you're doing that, or is it, or like how did you guys deal with the idea that, hey, we have to take them home at nights or leave them in the field with us?
Well, I don't really know on how they operated it. A lot of that was just bringing them to a water body that was, say, within Baton Rouge, and getting them out there and getting them exposed to it.
All right.
One of the things that worked good with Betsy, David, with I did a project with a school, and they did their whole they did a whole watershed management plan, and then actually installed some measures, including a wetland. But what Betsy liked was, you basically say, here, I'm gonna have the kids from this date to this date, from these hours to these hours, where she doesn't think of anything. She basically brings the kids, and that's it. And then that was tied together with a grant, so she had some money to work with, to not for us to teach or anything, but for them to get some equipment. I mean, to get some materials to actually do. And then out of that, you didn't even need a curriculum, because the grant was tied to it was reducing sediment. So then you were just trying to help the kids. You just walk them through the process like you would if you were in your office, and you worked with what you had. But that's an idea.
All right. So youth training through schools, creating some sort of a curriculum, and then the idea of working towards summer camps regionally with folks. And I see that as, in some places, probably having to team with other nonprofits that already have the approval to do summer camps. So things like whether they're United Way, or they're a church organization, or they're a local elementary school, where you can kind of team with folks, opposed to creating a brand new entity that deals with childcare in the summer, just because obviously that's going to create different issues in different states. So,
Yeah,
Hey, David.
Dave,
Yeah.
as we've been doing our outreach for our projects at DEQ, we have come across some individuals who have worked to get tied into schools and providing education on things like litter. And so we have been able to piggyback on their efforts as we've gotten to know them, and provide them with education and related to water quality and what a watershed is, and have been able to participate at times. And so I think if we can find some sort of curriculum or something that can be done maybe in a day or something to get them started, they would be very willing to add that in there.
Hey, David. Can you guys
Yes.
hear me? Okay, good.
Yeah.
A couple things. In my past experience as an extension educator, I've been involved in some undergraduate teaching things, and developing curriculum is a really unique skill set. A college professor trying to develop something for a seventh grader, you gotta be on a different level and think different way. And so there was one person that mentioned they knew folks who were educators, and really reaching out to the elementary or junior high, high school, whatever your target is, teachers who have lots of experience teaching to that age group, that I think is really important if we want to develop a curriculum that's usable and repeatable. That's just one point. The second thing was related to when I was at OSU. I worked with the horticulture and landscape architecture department and OSU extension to do a summer camp that was really successful, went about 10 years, and we called it Camp Turf, but since it was through horticulture and landscape architecture. But TURF was an acronym that stood for Tomorrow's Undergraduates Realizing Their Future. And we did just what was mentioned, where we reached out to inner city schools and brought a lot of kids that were first generation or potential first generation college students. I taught them LID as part of that class as well. They actually made pervious concrete blocks and brought them back to their kids or to their parents, and their parents loved us because they brought a big block of concrete home from camp. But anyway, those are a couple things that I've seen in the past that are helpful on these types of things.
Yeah, and just to emphasize that, Jason, the only reason that I'm in this field is that somebody created a half-day course at my high school and kind of came into an ag program and said, hey, look, you can do natural resources. And it stimulated enough for me to be like, hey, that's kind of cool. I could actually play in creeks and mud puddles for a living. So one of the things that you brought up, that Jason brought up, was related to people that deal with writing curriculum. RiverShared is blessed. We have an elementary and middle school curriculum writer that is a close friend of RiverShared that is working on something called Streamgineering curriculum. Just as kind of a side note, he's my brother-in-law, and he's just really excited about what to do when he's done being an administrator in Baltimore County schools. But does anybody else know of anybody that's a curriculum writer or would be really excited about doing elementary curriculum stuff, so we can kind of start a side group with Eric to try to put together some really basic curriculum for people to use in the industry? Well, that's silent. If you think about this week, shoot an email to me. And we'll in the next couple, or if you're like, hey, I'd like to try to put my hand in there to create elementary and middle school curriculum. Right now, he's doing some high school curriculum too, but most of what he's doing is elementary and middle school. We have one small project where we're working with Wade and some folks down in Daphne, where Eric's going to be creating curriculum for high school students. But so keep that in mind. One of the big pushes in the industry, and we'll have opportunities for this in the future. Next week, we will be talking about the invited inspirational speaker. We'll be talking about kind of youth training and getting kids from a rougher background that generally do not see streams as a value, and getting those types of kids excited and trying to provide opportunities for them that could be related to natural systems, and a little bit about kind of his story. And that's a guy named Andrew Wilson that will be talking next week in the inspirational talk. But the other thing that I do see is that just simple basic regional training, there's going to be a lot more references to nature-based solutions in the future. So right now there's not a whole lot of courses that are created that will teach a urban planner in 2 days enough about stream restoration or process-based design or wetland restoration that they can even start to make a decision. So I see that being a super valuable course in the future, where if we can create a 2-day course where we can go into different governments and have it be curriculum and have some of them be recorded, so that in the future you may have 2 or 3 different people that present the course in every location, but they're presenting from about the same presentation. They can change it up locally, but then they can go into a local government in Fort Collins, and maybe, since myself and Greg Tyak or John Jaredango that's on the line here, maybe we're in Fort Collins, so we go talk to people in Fort Collins. And then if you're down in Louisiana, of course, I'm not there, so you have Lee and other folks that are in Louisiana, and you have Chuck or Tina, and they give a presentation to local municipalities in Louisiana. And then, of course, if you're in North Carolina, you can have Josh and others present in North Carolina. So that's kind of the ideas that we see as a need, is kind of creating a course that can be taught locally and regionally, and empower other people to start teaching these courses instead of expecting the bulk of the education industry to come from kind of a 10 to 20 people crowd. We're trying to expand it out so that a lot of people identify as being a educator in this industry. We were about the end of the time. Does anybody else have anything else they want to add this week?
I love that we found our conversation led to teaching and young ages and just reaching out. I love that outreach mindset, and that just felt it's a good direction.
Thank you, Josh. Well, I hope everybody has a great week. Wade, do you have anything else to say before we close today?
No. Maybe
right.
challenge to think up a good name, something to talk about for next week for Lee's thing.
Yep. Yeah, something instead of the PNBCD, maybe we can come up with something a little bit easier than that. It has to kind of fall below nature-based solutions, but above natural channel design and process-based design. So, all right. Well, thanks
for
guys.
everybody being
Have a
here.
great week.
Hey Dave, you there?
I am, yeah.
Cool. Hey, can I give you a quick call later sometime today?
Oh, I'd love that, man. Yeah, give me my phone number.
Yeah, okay.
All right,
right.
we'll see you, Ken.
Driving
Good day.
Jake the dog to the vet right now for dentist. All right, bye.
Oh, no. Yeah, bye.
Take care.
Hey, Paul, are you still on the line? I don't think so. Good. Well, hey, have a great day if you are on the line. And if you're not on the line, that's okay too. We'll close that up and then that.